Before I begin this presentation, I would like to state a disclaimer that this is a student presentation using a hypothetical scenario for educational purposes. I am a student at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences in the College of Public Health and not a representative of the agency I will claim to be a specialist in. The information in the following slides contains does not necessarily reflect the views or ideas of the agency. This presentation is for the class of Environmental and Occupational Health, Summer 2021. Hello everyone and welcome to this presentation. My name is Samantha Pahls and I am an Occupational Health Specialist for the NFPA. That stands for the National Fire Protection Association. I want to thank my audience, the Little Rock Fire Department probationary firefighters, aka Probies, for joining me today for this presentation. Today we will be discussing the occupational health risk with firefighters and smoke inhalation. As new recruits who just got hired to the department, we think that this is a very important presentation for you all since you are at the entry level of the department. That is why this is one of your first presentations on the job. Today we will be discussing three major points: health factors, exposure, and protection. We will be reviewing the health risk factors of smoke inhalation, acute and chronic, that you as a firefighter are possibly exposed to because of your occupation. We will also be going over major potential exposures that you as a firefighter might run into on the job. And lastly, we will be talking about how you can protect yourself and the way to avoid smoke inhalation on the job. Now let's get started. We will be discussing the health risk. Smoke inhalation has been known to cause acute symptoms such as respiratory irritation, shortness of breath, and coughing. Some chronic diseases that can be caused by smoke inhalation would include asthma, heart and lung disease, and some cancers. Research had found that receptive cancers for firefighters include those such as leukemia, testicular cancer, lung cancer, brain cancer, uterine cancer, colorectal cancer, and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. This smoke inhalation can also end in being lethal. Smoke inhalation is not the only way that you can get, as a firefighter, get these toxins into your body. They can also be absorbed with your skin. But since we are mainly talking about smoke inhalation today, we will focus on that. The different types of exposures can depend on the stage of fire as well as the type of fire and what is burning. The stages of fire are shown on this graph. It starts with the inception at the starting point of the fire. Then as it grows, it goes into the growth stage. Then it is fully developed, and then it starts lowering down during the decaying stage. What studies have found in recent years that most firefighters who develop smoke inhalation symptoms and breathing in cancerous carcinogens is in the overhaul. This is in the decaying stage of the fire. So that last section, that is a downward slope. The overhaul is when the fire is already out and you as a firefighter are in the house, building, or whatever the situation is called that you were called to. making sure that there aren't any spot fires. What has been found is everything that is smoldering and has been burnt starts gassing up, which is releasing those poisons from what is burning into the air that you will be breathing. That is why the fire service are enforcing the protection of men and women in your occupation about wearing your mask during this stage. And that is why it is so important that you keep your mask on. The toxins that can be in the smoke that make the exposure so dangerous are the chemicals such as these. The toxins are also that makes it commonly known as the witch smoke. These toxins include aldehydes, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, particulate matter, aeroglyph, benzene, crystalline, silica, and intermediate chemicals. The main exposure of smoke inhalation of these chemicals is, of course, whatever the source is on fire during that call. So whether that is house fire and from a carbon monoxide leak, if a car is on fire, that can also depend on what type of exposure you are being at risk for. These gases and smokes being released from anything burning, big or small, are dangers to your profession and how you might be able to and how you can avoid these. How, you might ask? Let's talk about how to avoid these toxins. On the job, your main deterrent and lifeline is your SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus, aka your mask in your tank. This makes you able to breathe clean air in an IDLH environment. This mask does not clean the air for you, but it provides you clean air in your tank. These have been puff checked daily by each oncoming crew and get pressure checked every 5 years. If something is found in the daily check, it must be put to the side, tagged, and sent out for maintenance that day. Next is the turnouts. Your turnouts is your protective uniform. They not only protect you from heat, but also keep the smoke and carcinogens off your skin so that it's not being absorbed through your skin. These tanks, the tanks themselves, are spun in fiberglass, and the regulators, which is the part of the clip into your mask from the bottle, is the planter's plastic with fiberglass and rubber gasket. The details of your turnout are presented in the photo on the slides. Yes, it depends on the call, but if there's a call, everything goes on to protect yourself until you find out what the situation is, and then eventually you might be able to downgrade some of your gear. This will protect your gear against that smoke inhalation. The uniform itself is also lined with, spun with fiberglass to keep that chemicals and toxins away from your body, as well as protecting your heat. Now, not only does your gear protect you, but also following the NFPA code and standards. These are set for your safety, and depending on the department is what codes you follow. Your training is obviously, of course, a protective quality because you learn how and the safeties of your job. Following protocol is so important. If there is a smoke is jet black and down to the floor, you do not go in. This is when the smoke and heat are so bad that there is no way for someone to still be alive. It is not worth risking your life if the environment is not tangible for life. Now, if there's the slightest chance the team knows someone is inside, then yes, go and but that is not your call as a probie new firefighter. And that is only if someone is hurt or if there is absolute fact that someone is alive inside the building. Following command is another way to protect yourself. The firefighter rank in order from lowest to highest goes probationary firefighters, which is all of you, firefighter, then above firefighter is the driver engineer, and then above them is the lieutenant, above the lieutenant is the captain, above the captain is the battalion chief, above that is the assistant chief, and then finally at the very top of the food chain is the fire chief. You must listen and do as your superior says for maximum protection against smoke inhalation and the safety of not only you, but also your fellow firefighter team. The last way to avoid smoke inhalation that we will be talking about is some of the new fire technology. This might not be at all of the fire departments that of working only because of funding, but since it is the 21st century, there are some things we can do to avoid risk even more through technology. Health status sensors, chemical and external temperature sensors, microprocessor units, thermal monitoring, lifeguard hoods, and CO detectors are all new developments in the last 5 to 10 years that help protect you and help you avoid smoke inhalation. The references I used for this presentation are listed here on this slide. The references I used are by the firehouse.com titled Please Enable Cookies Strike Path. What are an article from firerescue1.com, which is what are the fire ranks. An article by Gabbers that study shows firefighter exposed to increased disease risk. A page from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention on fire resources and job hazards. A page from WebMD of smoke inhalation. An article from the Environmental Protection Agency on how smoke from fires can affect your health. An article from written by Hall called Toxicology of Smoke Inhalation for Fire Engineering. And lastly, a personal interview that I have with one of the Little Rock firefighters that is an upper rank, and I have this interview, and his name is Nick Zagora, and it was on June 25th in 2021. I hope this presentation was helpful for you all today. As I just stated, those are my references for this information on this PowerPoint. If you have any questions, feel free to please ask. Thank you so much for your time and service. I wish you all probationary Little Rock firefighters the best luck in your journey to being a part of the Little Rock Fire Department.